The subject of death, I know, it's a difficult one and one that most people run away from. And I want to approach this from a perspective that will hopefully get you in a space. If you have to go to a particular site where you believe they are, then that means when you leave away from that site, you don't have them present. That is a separation when there is no separation. That's my belief. Where you can start to embrace this very natural, normal occurrence, one that every single one of us are going to experience. We are all born, we are all gonna die. Those are the only two things that are absolutely certain in life. People used to say, all you had to do was stay black, all you had to do was stay white. Well, we've seen folk where that is not the case. The only things that are absolutely certain for each and every one of us is that we are going to be born and we are going to die. For everybody here, those two things are absolutes. Hi, I'm Zara. Today marks the 3rd year of the transition of the most important person till this day in my entire life. And the truth of the matter is, I know that there will never be anybody who is more important than this person in my life, because there's so much of my foundation, who I am, how I believe about me, which is top notch, that came from who he is. Notice I said is, not was. That does not mean that there won't be other people that I learned from that come in and out of my life, but this person was with me for most of my life. Now, if I can feel this way, the ways I'm about to explain to you, about the person who means the absolute most to me in my entire life, and then give you a perspective so that you can live freely, then is that worth sticking around for? Well, hi, I'm Zara, and what I do over here is return people back to themselves, to their core, so that they can cut away at the conditioning. Because most of the ways that people look at death, that thing called death, which I do not believe in, but most people look at when a person's life ends on this plane. I'm telling you, that is all conditioning. If you are having a difficult time embracing anybody's transition, including your own, then it is because of some conditioning. And you have to ask yourself the question, who does this benefit? To whose benefit is it, or what industry's benefit is it for me to continue to believe what I am believing? For me to continue to exercise the same rituals that I continue to exercise when the death of this thing rolls around, or when the birth of this thing rolls around, or this person rolls around? Who does this benefit? Because if you are not in a space where when you think of them, it is nothing but absolute joy, then there are things that you need to do to close that gap. And there are things that you can do to close that gap. Am I going to be able to tell you specifically what you need to do unless I am specifically talking to you about your specific things? No. What I'm talking about right here and now are general things. But you should be able to pick up some things that work for or against you. I know I cover some things over here that are not popular. The only way I'm going to continue to do this and give so freely is if you make this an exchange. You receive and you give me likes and subscribe and share and those kinds of things. Engage, comment. Will ya? Thank you. Okay, have I said who the person is? It is my father. What an amazing man. He was every kind of phenomenal to me. Now, will everybody say that about him? No. The general consensus is that he was a fabulous man. He helped people, he was kind, he was generous, he was a pillar in the community, and when people needed things from the judicial system to all else, then he used his resources to be able to help them. And he did the same thing for his children, which is why I was able to do a lot of the things that I was able to do. And he was a resource. He used his resources to help people. How is it that on the anniversary of his passing, I'm okay, that I am good, that I don't have these breakdown moments. I don't feel like I have to do rituals. I have never been back to his, I almost said graveside, but he's actually in a wall, which I don't get. I don't understand that at all. Listen, I am gonna be cremated and dust just, yeah, the people who know me best, they gonna be responsible for taking my ashes and going to distribute them in the ways that Zara liked to live life. Right now, I live in other places. I'm in a different country right now. Scatter my ashes somewhere that's fun, somewhere that I enjoy. You got to get it right with me before I leave here if you want to be able to return to what you ain't gonna have nowhere to return. You just gonna have to, and that's another reason I'm being cremated. So that when you need to tap into me, you will tap into my essence. You won't be going to no gravesite. I think that is some stuff that it has been instilled and passed down, and it really needs to be reconsidered. There are other options. Question everything. Question why you do everything you do. I am not going to a gravesite. I don't care who it is. In fact, when my father passed, I wouldn't look at him in the casket. Let me tell you why I wouldn't. Because, and I didn't see him just before he passed. When my father passed, I was on stage at a conference. One of the things he said to me is, don't ever stop your life to come and tend to mine. In retrospect, with all the commotion that was going on, like in many people's lives when somebody's passing, look, the first thing we need to do is stop acting like family all comes together and all live in unity and are this, Brady Bunch. And everybody lives happily ever after. That is some bullshit we got to shake. It's just not true. In fact, when one person, a matriarch or patriarch, dies, is really when we start to see the family crumble, see how things are really not going well. There was a hurricane that was brewing, a storm. I was in Florida trying to get to New Orleans, and there was stuff happening that even if I wanted to get out, I couldn't. So the day he passed, I was in Florida 3 years ago on a stage doing what I do, teaching and training. But the night before, when he was leaving, baby, that man blew through me, and his essence is what I recognized right away. And I knew in that moment that I would interrupt that process if I laid eyes on him after his passing. So when it came time to go to the funeral home to view his body, I was getting my hair done. My sister said, "You coming?" I was like, "Nope, y'all go ahead." When it came time to for the family to walk in and view the body before everybody else came in, or I don't even remember the order. I just know I stayed in the back until they closed the casket. Because to me, it was an interruption of what I knew of him, how I knew him. After he blew through me and I felt his essence, I knew that. I was familiar with that. I'd known that my whole life. If I'd viewed him in that state, I was concerned that it was going to interrupt how I knew him. Funny story. So I ended up living in my parents' house during the pandemic for a short period of time. At this point, nobody else is living there, so I went to live in my parents' house. I told my sister how Daddy was showing up. And yeah, she's always been skeptical of that kind of thing. So she's looking at me out the corner of her eye like, and then I tell her, the lights flicker and I can feel him. And she's still looking at me. Okay, we're from New Orleans, and the voodoo stuff, you're either down for it or you're scared of it. Well, my family's scared of it. And I told her which lights were flickering, and we went in another room. That light had not flickered, and he started flickering the lights. And I still laugh thinking about how spooked she got while I'm sitting there tickled because that's also the relationship he and I had, okay? So the relationship we had continues today. I still laugh my entire ass off because he shows up for me in the same ways he always has. The energy that is him. I don't speak about him in past terms because he still is. And I am the only one that recognized him when he shows up. My other family members were like, how he's flickering lights around you and showing you and coming and stroking you and all that stuff? It's because I expected. I was telling them how daddy was showing up. And they're looking at me like, here she go. You know, here she go. All that spirit stuff. No, well, why he ain't showing up for me? Because you ain't expecting him. I expect him to continue to support me and show up for me in the same ways he always has. We still laugh about the same things. So there's something might happen, and I'm telling you, the man is right in my presence, and I can hear what he would say if he were sitting right here. Our relationship continues. Is he in the flesh? No. Don't expect the people you love to show up in the flesh. You have to tap into your essence, which is not this. This will lay down. But who you are, who you were, who you are before you took on this form is what you continue to be, return to when you leave this. You remain that. It never leaves. Okay? So because I am in touch with my essence, I never expected this to be the end of him. Okay? It's not the end of him. Even right now, he is right here with me, very present. And he shows up in the same ways he always has. And just as the daddy he is that has always provided for me, there was nothing that man wasn't going to do for me. So I go through life with that same expectation from the God that I am. In the same ways that that man has always shown up for me, it is very easy for me to expect the God that I am to continue to show up for me even when nobody else does. Now, however you need to regulate whomever has passed on, whomever is no longer in this flesh, you need to know it's not going to happen in the same ways that it always had. You have to tap into your essence in order to recognize their essence. Okay? That essence we came in with is the essence we leave with. Since that's what I decided to believe, now you can believe whatever you want to believe. I choose my beliefs based on the peace that they bring me. I don't believe that we came here to suffer. And that is what a lot of your rituals set you up for. It sets you up for annual sufferings, annual events that cause you to suffer. When you think that that is how you show your loved one that you're still thinking about them and that you are still, you want to keep them alive. See, I have a belief that says my loved one is alive because I commune with them constantly. They're not going anywhere. My essence taps into theirs on a regular basis. Hi, plane. My essence taps into my loved ones, my daddy, on a regular basis, practically daily. There are days that it's not the case, but when he's present, I always know it. He shows up. He's present for me. He still knows me. The veil is very thin. So how do people suffer? The things you do annually that then makes you feel like you're closer to them. If you have to go to a particular site where you believe they are, then that means when you leave away from that site, you don't have them present. That is a separation when there is no separation. That's my belief. You also suffer by your annual rituals. I watch people all the time with believing that in order to keep somebody's spirit alive, when their spirit is very much so alive, in order to keep them active and to make sure that they are not forgotten and those kinds of things. And I'm telling you, that is a very human thing. That is not a spiritual thing at all. The people who have gone on are like, you can commune with me anytime you want. When you go to that place, I am not there. Or when you do these things, then are you really doing them for me? Here's an example. Most of the causes that you think you're contributing to in order to give tribute to or to pay tribute to or to keep their memory alive, you are actually their pawns. So the Susan B. Anthony organizations and the Red Cross and all of these heart associations, dig into them. Most of them are backed by pharmaceutical companies. Now, with all of the fallout in our country right now, it ought to be easy to see how all they want to do is get you from the cradle to the grave. And so when I say who is behind it, you need to be able to dig deeper than the conditioning that has come that makes you feel better about a specific situation. They've created things that make you feel better about wherever you are in a moment, but they don't solve your suffering. You want some resolution? You got to get beyond the conditioning. Get to your core, baby. Get to your core so you can start cutting away at the conditioning. I think by now there's been enough collapse around you that you ought to be able to accept that these are all just things that are finding other ways for you to give them money. All right, that was another Zara drop because the social conditioning is real. And until you start to understand how you are being socially conditioned, until you start to understand how none of this stuff is working to your advantage, until you start to tap into your own core so you can start cutting away at all that crap, you will still be at the whim of all of this. Every single thing they've set up for you and not thinking for yourself. Returning to your core is how you get to be lighter about all this stuff. Is how you start to really be able to tap into the essence of who they are, because you've tapped into the essence of who you are, because you are not any of this and you're not any of the ways you've been conditioned. There is no separation between you and the spirit realm, which means there is no separation between you and your loved ones. Because daddy is right here. And in honor of him, because I can feel him, child, like nobody's business right now. His essence is very much so present. So I'm going to pour me a libation. I'm going to enjoy this beautiful view. I love Central America. I'm going to enjoy this view. I'm going to commune with daddy this evening. And we're going to have us a good old time. Now, some of y'all like, ooh. Others of you are like, yes. Finally, somebody else talking about this. Listen, y'all, I am living fully. And living fully means tapping into everything that I am spiritually, not any of the conditioning that I picked up since I got here along the way. So, if you would like some help with that, it's exactly what I do, okay? I have helped many people to sort through their beliefs about anybody who has done that natural thing called death, transitioned, because your suffering is based on your belief system. When you get some healthier beliefs around it, then your suffering ends. All right? A good place to start is to order a clarifying session. That might be all you need. If you need more, we'll talk about what that looks like too. If you've enjoyed this, again, I ask you to subscribe, like, share, comment, engage. Until next time, it's your life. Choose it just as it is. Own it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Change it. As long as you can breathe and learn, oh, it can get better. I'm Zara from somewhere out here in these Central American streets. Ciao for now.